recall to order the regular business meeting for Monday, November 16th at 7:12 p.m. Members present: Ron Fisher, Tim Hine, Don Bremer, Amanda Lobbins, Pat Arnold, and Nicole Morrow. Please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we start, just everyone should have their mute on. Mute button.
A couple things here. Changes and additions to the agenda, I believe we have none. Audience wants to address the Board of Education? There's no one. That's awesome. Move on to our presentation for the Division of Fine Arts, World Languages.
Good evening, everyone. It's been a long time I've gotten to see you guys, because last year I was supposed to speak to you. We were in the middle of a shutdown. So got lots of good stuff tonight to catch you up on. Starting with, as you'll see here just kidding. He'll take care of that. We have a new logo. So last year, the division started off its year just revisiting our mission statement and vision statement, making sure it aligned with the district vision and mission. And at that time, we developed this new logo for us, as well as some other branding that you'll see at the end of this presentation. Going back to that shutdown, I'm happy to say that music, I'm sure you guys are all aware, was one of the first programs to bring students back into the building. And I can't tell you how many times people in the community, other teachers comment to me about how nice it is to see students again. And better than that, just, hear the singing, hear the instruments playing throughout the day. And it's been going very well. And I think in large part because of the district being so willing to buy all the PPE that we found to be necessary to make it a safe program and have that safe return. So thank you for that. Music's also been planning for next year at the same time, working hard with the architects for that in preparation for that campus shift. For the first time ever, we're going to have to run 2 full-time music programs in the same building. Normally we've been able to split them up between the campuses, and we won't be able to do that anymore. So Mr. Galvicius has been working hard with the architects, going back and forth to come up with a 100 level music double room here. We have some new furniture coming in as risers, and just really working on maximizing the space so that we can still have the large programs that we run, but still make sure we're maximizing student learning in the space as well. In addition to music, we also have art doing the same thing. And in fact, they're probably going to have to be moving out sooner because the current construction crew needs to get into their current rooms. So you can see here, we have a new photo lab and art lab up in the 300 level, back in the southeast corner of the building, repurposing some of our science labs or physics labs. Again, maximizing space, storage, to again accommodate a large number of students, but also have some space to move around. These rooms are actually going to be larger than our current art rooms, so that is music to our teachers' ears. Last but not least, the languages. While they haven't had to really work on redesigns as far as construction goes, they've been very hard at work working on curriculum. And you're going to hear from them in just a minute. Specifically, French and German have begun offering our first dual credit courses, and we are excited to be able to next year expand that. So when students graduate from McHenry High School, they have the opportunity to earn 16 college credit hours in either French or German. And at the end of next year, 8 of those will be general elective credits. So that counts towards a student's gen eds. at any college or university in the state of Illinois. So that's something really exciting for them. Spanish, as you guys are aware, have been working hard at developing that 5-year language study program. Last year was the first year we had any 5th-year students graduate from Mchenry High School, and they receive a plaque in recognition of their commitment to studying Spanish for 5 years. And in addition to that, the students last year, we tried it a couple of different ways. The students last year were our Spanish 3 summer school group. We've since changed that to Spanish 1 being over the summer. But if those students are any sign or indication of what's to come, we're going to see amazing things. The students last year, we had a second language learner earn the seal of biliteracy on her first attempt at taking the test, which has never happened. They've always had to retake it in order to earn it. We also had a second language learner, that means no background knowledge of Spanish prior to studying it here, earn a 5 on the AP exam. And we have never, until last year, had a second language learner earn that high of a score. So really awesome things to see, and I'm sure it's only going to get better. Of the students, so we had the Spanish 3 summer school. We started Spanish 1 summer school last year. We also have had Harrison 8th graders taking Spanish during their 0 hour here at the school. Of all of those students, we have maintained enrollment of all but 2, meaning they have continued to do the whole 5-year program. So it wasn't like they just took the class so that they could take a different class. They continued to study the language. So that has been exciting to see. You can see our numbers were increasing for our Harrison students. That dip last year, we think is due to the fact that they were able to now take it over the summer. So there is a couple different options, but still a decent amount of students choosing to take a 0 hour class in their 8th grade year. Every single one of those students has earned an A or a B. We have not had a grade lower than a B at any of our semester checkpoints for any of our 5-year program students. So they're doing really, really well. But don't just take my word for it. We have a couple of updates from the teachers and students themselves as to how these programs are going.
Also, I want to take a moment to let you know how
questions that you may have. It's okay if you don't. Really, it's okay. All right. Well, then our division did, like I said, create our new logo and some new branding, which you'll see on that last slide in your booklets. If you're interested in hearing more or seeing more about our program, our hashtag that you can follow us at is Creating Cultured Warriors. And they also sent along some new face masks with our new logo on it so that you guys can be promoting us out in the community as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Consent agenda. Are there any questions on the consent agenda? Nothing? Then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Ron, second. Tim, roll call, please.
Mrs. Lavin? Yes. Mr. Fisher? Yes. Mrs. Morrow? Yes. Mr. Arnold? Yes. Mr. Kinshaw?
Yes.
Ms. Trevor? Yes. Mr. Hyde?
Yes.
Tonight, we are going to go ahead and start updating the board on what really is about 10 months worth of work as we've met with different committees and parent groups and students to really discuss what does that actual transition look like when we shift from a 2 high school model to a freshman and upper campus model. Everything from what does the schedule look like? How are we going to serve both campuses? These are all things that we've been deliberating for the past 10 months. And, you know, we're now starting the process of culminating all of that information and beginning to deliver it to all of our different stakeholders. We've started we have an advisory or a parent team that we've already vetted much of our transition planning with, along with our teachers. And this is a culmination of all those different committees and all that work that we've done, you know, as we prepare for what's going to be an epic transition in our district's history next year. And so no matter what's happening, you know, currently with the coronavirus and all these other things, you know, we have so much to be thankful for. We have such a bright future ahead of us as we look at all of our beautiful new facilities that are going up, but also the amazing opportunity we have to really start a new structure and a new history in our campuses. So we're going to go ahead and have Dr. Prickett, who will be our MCHS principal next year, and Mr. Valanatos take us through part of that transition and planning that we've been doing, and then open it up to questions that you might have about what school is going to look like in McHenry next year as we focus on the future.
Thank you, Tag. Good evening, Board of Education. Jeff Prickett, principal at McHenry High School. We're very excited to present this work to you tonight about the transition in 2021. And so you can see one school, one goal, warrior ready is the tagline that you're going to hear throughout the presentation and throughout the next year and the next number of years. So we're very excited to finally present this information to you and discuss the McHenry High School Upper Campus and McHenry High School Freshman Campus. Is that gonna? All right. Okay, so first of all, I want to take you back to the future with the goal always having been 2021. In November, I mean, I don't have to tell you all this information, but this is so critical that in November of 2018, with the passage of the referendum, the construction of the CSTI building and the campus switch, that structure was put into motion, was put into play. In 19 and 20, 2 years of committee planning and site visits we underwent for effective transition to those two campuses. This fall, the plan for administrative assignments and student services, and we are in conversations right now talking about those administrative assignments, because obviously it is critical that we understand the proper people, as Jim Collins talks about, the right people on the bus and the right people in those seats. So, who on the ground is going to undertake the day-to-day operations over at the freshman campus, and the same with the upper campus. So we are in conversation right now about those administrative assignments. We've got a great team, and I cannot wait to finish those conversations with those people and then start working on student services, so we make sure we have a full complement, as you know, at both campuses. In January of 2021, we will be open at the CSTI for classes. February starts orientations in the course placement process. In August, the completion of the industrial tech labs and the official open. And then in August of 2021, we'll be ready to kick off the new era of MCHS history. So one of the original reasons that we wanted to address this campus shift was to really address equity and the efficiency. I mean, as you know, students were forced to take certain classes because classes were housed in 2 buildings, so they had to choose which class they wanted to take, and sometimes weren't able to take, depending on various reasons. We had a strained transportation system. There were differing opportunities between campuses, and so really to address that, we go to this comprehensive high school here at the upper campus, with the east campus becoming the freshman center. So we moved to one comprehensive high school. We have streamlined course pathways. All students have equal access, with very intentional design in these modern learning spaces that we are creating. Throughout the process, we went on site visits. We visited Neuqua Valley Freshman Center. We visited the New Trier Freshman Campus and learned everything that we could from their staff and even from their students. And we really, really grasped hold of the power of the freshman year. You can see that banner that hangs at Neuqua Valley Freshman Center. That's so critical for us. And not that we wanted to replicate Neuqua Valley. We didn't want to replicate New Trier Freshman Campus. We wanted to learn from the great things that they were doing and bring some of those ideas here and put a Mchenry twist on it. So we're very thrilled to be able to, get ready to open up our freshman campus here. So in addition, we really have talked a lot about this new vision and this new look for Mchenry High School, because it really is, when you saw on that previous slide, a new era. It really, truly is unlike anything people have ever seen, with intentional design and instructional philosophy in mind. Intentionally. You've heard us say intentional and purposeful planning a number of times. It will be built for the future of student engagement, with flexible classrooms, modern learning spaces. It will become the hub of college and career pathways. We will encourage leadership and action with our seniors and upperclassmen, working with our freshmen at the freshman campus, working very intentionally on the 8th to 9th grade transition to make sure that that goes smoothly every single year, as kids from all over the Mchenry area here come into our freshman campus for the first time together, and then move to the 9th grade building, or the 10th grade building, the upper campus here. We call that the bridging process. So from 8th to 9th grade transition, and then the 9th grade to the upper campus bridging.
All right, thank you, Dr. Prickett. I want to set the stage here on why the bell schedule that we arrived upon was so important. In the first year, we had our transition committee, and that transition committee really talked about some of the bigger items that really set the stage for our other committees that took hold. One was transportation, and a big key to that was, how are we going to arrange our bell schedule, and what kind of a bell schedule is going to serve us the best? And based on our site visits, it's ironically enough that both New Trier and Neuqua Valley already had bell schedules that were very, very similar to ours, almost completely in construct. If you remember, about 6 years ago, we changed our bell schedule to be more of a modern bell schedule with that aim period. Both Neuqua Valley and New Trier had advisory periods that were in different locations in the school day. So we spent about 6 months really talking about where we should put our AIM period. And the driver of that conversation primarily was, where would it serve us the best to be able to put our seniors in close proximity to our ninth graders in a mentorship program the best? And ironically, after 6 months of deliberation, what we talked about is actually having AIM in 2 different locations on the bell schedule. You'll see our bell schedule would actually be very, very similar. It would start just a little bit later. The freshman campus would continue to be the early campus, and the upper campus would be the staggered, just a little bit later campus. And that serves it well because 0 hour will only be at the upper campus. But there's a couple very unique qualities about having AIM to lead the day at the freshman campus, but yet fall right before lunch at the upper campus. And I'm going to let Dr. Prickett talk a little bit more specifically about the vision for what's going to happen during first period with the course that you heard about a month ago with curriculum, Leadership in Action, which will be our senior mentorship and leadership development course.
Yeah, that's very exciting, and to be able to allow those kids, the freshmen, an opportunity to work with those seniors when they come over to the freshman campus, and also back here on site when they're in class to work on leadership, just what it says, leadership in action. We're so thrilled to be able to give those seniors that opportunity to be able to practice those leadership skills in practical applications and apply those skills that they're learning in the class. So
a couple of things I want to add right here to this slide, Dr. Prickett. At the upper campus, if you take a look at AIM being right before fourth period, there's 2 ways for seniors who want to take leadership in action, or they want to make their schedule more robust with additional coursework. There's 2 ways that seniors could take an additional class, and that's by continuing to take a 0 hour PE class or a 0 hour course in general. Or that AIM situated right before lunch could easily be another opportunity to eat lunch or go off campus and get their meal and come back for a 4, 5, or 6 period class. So seniors will have that option to not only work with the freshmen during period 1 in their class, but they could take additional coursework period 0 or during 4, 5, or 6.
We see the staggered time, and it's not just about our seniors going over to be with our freshmen in the morning. It's also the ability for our freshmen after main campus as much as possible. And so all of this, again, was intentional of where we place our AIM periods, where we have our new leadership class, but also at the end of the day, getting as many freshmen over here to experience all the great things we have at our upper campus, especially with our new spaces and our new activities and our new programs, and giving them that opportunity and that time to do so.
again, the words intentional design and purposeful practice. So to move back to the importance of the freshman year, we really talk about that transition and preparing our 8th graders to move into the freshman campus to start their journey. That begins the winter of their 8th grade year with the course selection process and placement orientations, getting them into the campus, getting them looking at all the great things that we have to offer, learning about summer school and our Get Ahead program, and really taking those first steps into the high school, meeting new classmates, and right away off the ground, focusing on success, and freshman success, and what that looks like that very first year of high school.
As you know, over the last many years, we've been modernizing our curriculum, but the last 2 years has been a bevy of very, very exciting courses. And you can see at the freshman campus, back to Dr. Prickett's earlier point about the consolidation of resources at both campuses so that all 9th graders would get the same experience and all 10th through 12th graders will get the same experience. At that 9th grade campus, we will be able to focus solely on that transition into high school and the success of our freshmen. They're going to have an array of wonderful courses that they can choose from. Regular and honors core courses,
advanced placement human geography would be that one AP course that they could get started with. A great example of why this consolidation is really going to be great for our ninth graders is something I relayed back to you over the last couple of committee meetings, that now that there are no upperclassmen at East Campus, our ninth graders are going to be able to experience more choices in physical education because they will have all the facilities at East Campus to themselves. They're also going to have Spanish 1, French 1, German 1, introductory art and music courses, and band courses as well, band and choir. And then they're going to have all of the introductory pathway electives for them to choose to get started in career exploration, biomedical science, computer science, engineering, journalism, power mechanics, woods, metals, intro to business, computer literacy, introduction to foods, and child development. So all of what we're accustomed to with our freshmen, it's still going to be the case, and it's going to be solely focused on their success working with senior mentors as well in the AIM period.
So at the freshman campus, what we really wanted to make sure that we focused intentionally on as we see the expansion over here at the upper campus was a redesigned media center, which we saw last year. Soft spaces for collaboration, which we've intentionally started moving in, also starting last year. Improved classroom environments, as you know, with new tile, HVAC, LED lighting. You see some pictures here of the outdoor seating areas, the construction that happened over at East Campus to put in the HVAC system last year, the redesigned media center, all to really replicate and make sure that we created those modernized learning spaces at the freshman campus as well. Oh, hang on. We also wanted to make sure, I mentioned focusing on the freshman year a number of times, and this is a really critical piece for freshmen to understand as they walk in the power of the freshman year through our Distinguished Warrior graduate program, understanding that we're going to focus this freshman year on 6 credits, 6 hours of community service, being involved in activities, athletics, and academics, and really what it means to be distinguished. The freshman program, the freshman aspect of Distinguished Warrior, be distinguished, and what that looks like for them. Really chunking that down and making sure that they understand how to achieve that and be really successful at that so they can be high school ready during their freshman year, focusing on being life ready beyond freshman year.
But what happens when they struggle, and how can we better prevent struggle by using data? That was one of the things that we looked at 2 years ago, and it was our school report card that I'm going to be talking about here in a few minutes that really led us to taking urgent action around our freshmen. For the first time in a long time, this is 3 years ago, when we got our 2019 school report card, it seemed as though both schools had dipped below the 90% freshmen on track for the first time in a long while. And we concluded that what we need, and at that point, still today, we have our freshmen spread and diffuse into 2 different campuses. We organized 9th grade success teams in both buildings to focus solely on 9th grade. Success teams that was not just made up of administration and student services, but was mostly academic core teachers that wanted to look at the data. We got a lot of student information and data on students from our feeder schools so that we could look very closely and early on in early prevention of students that might struggle right out of the gates. And because of the work that these teams did a year ago, by monitoring that success, intervening early, and really have a dogged persistence around the success of freshmen, we've got some very, very good news at both campuses, almost equally successful, because they took the same approach and they collaborated. And the vision of this was always that we're going to put this into play to improve our data at both buildings, knowing that this would be the forerunner intervention team for 9th graders, and that we would also have a team just like it for 10th graders at the upper campus. All right, so you can see our school report card data for our district, and then both campuses were almost identical at right about 95%. So we went from about 88, 87% to 95% freshmen on track because of the efforts of this one team. It was pretty outstanding. Dr. Frick is going to talk a little bit about bridging, another very intentional word we're using.
So intentional word meaning the bridge from the freshman campus to the upper campus. And by that time, by the time they enter this building, they will have come over, as you heard, from the numerous offerings that we have over here, the numerous opportunities that we are creating for them to be over here at the upper campus, so that this process is a smooth bridge for them. It begins in early 9th grade. We've already have the senior mentorship in place with all those extracurricular activities that we mentioned, a 4-year high school planning that begins freshman year, course selection and placement orientations, and a real focus then. They started their 4-year plan, a real focus starting in 10th grade on their college and career pathways.
I want to add something there.
Yeah.
An example here of both transition and bridging, two very distinct concepts. We're already formulating what the PSAT in the fall next year will look like, and we're very, very excited. That's a day in the fall, as many of you know, that the seniors don't take a test. The juniors take the PSAT, the 8th, 9th, and 10th graders all take tests as well. And on that day in October, in that beautiful fall October day that we have next year, hopefully where there are no IDPH guidelines to worry about, that day, our plan is that our seniors will be off on a college and career experience or doing a college visit. We're going to take our freshmen that day, and we're going to bring them to the upper campus to take their PSATs with the 10th and 11th graders. And then, with an empty freshman campus, that's going to be a perfect day that we invite all 600 of our freshmen for the first time, or our 8th graders, for the first time, to be welcomed into that freshman campus and to take that first high school test experience. So that's an example of what a transition activity and a bridging activity for our 9th graders. Thank you. And then, as we have been working for so many years, but for sure the last 2 years, all of these amazing pathways that we've been building are now completely built out, and we are starting to purchase better equipment, more resources for all of that upper level pathway, that college and career pathways for our upperclassmen. As you know, we will have by then 32 advanced placement and dual credit courses. You heard one of our world language teachers talk about dual credit. State-of-the-art equipment and resources. You see in the lower left-hand corner there, the anatomage table that we have purchased, the digital cadaver table we have purchased for our biomedical science labs. We just purchased a PO. We just sent in a PO for 4 brand new state-of-the-art Haas CNC machines for our manufacturing facility. The same for construction, graphics. So when those 10th graders get to that upper campus, they will experience a completely robust college and career readiness pathway in these elective areas. Dr. Fricker will talk a little bit more about exactly what those spaces will look like.
So in order to really focus on being modern and accessible for everyone, we really have focused on these advanced learning spaces. In the Center for Science, Tech, and Industry, you'll find 35 classroom and lab spaces, including a biomedical science, manufacturing, and advanced engineering. Really intentional, collaborative design, 9 math classrooms, 12 science classrooms and labs, a greenhouse, and an outside eco deck for experimentation.
In addition to this amazing curriculum and college and career pathways that we have, I want to just take a few minutes to talk about the expansion of blended learning in Mchenry High School. As many of you know, blended learning is a methodology with online learning that has been growing in education over the last 5 to 10 years. Mchenry, before the pandemic, already had 15 blended learning courses and 1 completely digital course, Consumers Ed. In blended learning, the students experience mostly face-to-face brick and mortar in the classroom instruction, but there is a mixture of asynchronous or flex time where the students who meet criteria and are succeeding can choose to learn elsewhere or work on different studies or collaborate or do research projects. So moving forward, when school opens next year, we will also have now 52 blended learning courses at Mchenry High School, and most of which will be offered only blended. So it's definitely a methodology that students are going to begin experiencing more of in increments. And the pandemic, in a really strange way, has helped push us that direction. And now we can enjoy it by coming backwards and bringing in higher degrees, much higher degrees of face-to-face learning, while still garnering the upside that digital learning and online learning could provide.
When we open in 2021, we will have rebranded for the future. We will be talking about one school, one goal, and being warrior ready, helping all of our school community, our students and staff to understand what that means and how to get there at both the McHenry High School freshman campus and the McHenry High School upper campus. I want to talk just a little bit on this last piece about our goals for the next few years: transition, mission, culture, and position. One of my main goals is to make sure that there's a successful transition into this one high school, one principal model, and beyond that, a successful yearly transition of our incoming freshmen into the freshman campus. That's transition. Our mission is to really get clear on our vision, values, our beliefs, and our commitments so we can understand what a graduate of the rebranded McHenry High School really looks like and how do we get there. By using those values and commitments, that really helps to shape our mission and vision. Culture. What does it mean to be a warrior? With every student connected to one another through classroom, through activities, through athletics, through clubs, we make sure that every single student understands their place in this community and understands how important they are. And finally, position. Through focusing on transition, mission, and the culture, we will be in a position to ensure that all students are warrior ready and able to meet graduation requirements and ready for life in high school and the larger world beyond. One school, one goal, warrior ready.
As a close, and I'm sure you may have some questions to this point in history and this great presentation that Dr. Prickett has led us on tonight, I want to let you know that we realized coming into this is actually part of our ninth grade committee that talked about how important family and parent engagement is during this time period. We're communicating very well. And we created a family partnership team that we've been meeting with monthly for communication and feedback. And Dr. Prickett and I gave this presentation to that committee. It was about, what, three weeks ago? And we got some great feedback from them. They were very, very excited, but that's part of the process. When you get feedback, what would they like to hear more from? We'd like that from you. And our next step is actually to host a community live stream event where we give this presentation, Dr. McTagg talking about all we've done with our facility upgrades, Dr. Prickett and the vision, myself. We're going to be hosting that on December the 8th at 6:30 p.m. And we're going to start the promotion process. So literally everyone in the community knows that they can hear about the amazing historic changes that are going to happen in McHenry High School. So thanks, Dr. Prickett, and you have any questions?
All right. Thank you, everyone.
I just wanted to add real quick that it's such a massive endeavor, right? And I think where we were very lucky is, this has been the culmination of a journey, not just 2 years ago, but 4 or 5 years ago. Because we started building these pathways, these career pathways, all right, so that now we're at the culmination of these pathways, this 4th year, all right, in so many of these different disciplines, that we were able, all right, as we designed this new space, we had those pathways done. So we were able to work with teachers about what does this room look like to better serve your students? What type of equipment do you need? What kind of furniture is going to work best for your curriculum? So rather than building the building and throwing a new pathway in it, right, these spaces were intentionally built, all right, with our teachers, all right, who've been teaching these pathways for years and years and years of how we can best serve our students and engage in that hands-on curriculum and really make this a truly wonderful experience. We're going to have over 100,000 square feet of new space, many of those state-of-the-art innovative laboratories that have been designed specifically, all right, for these pathways to give our students the best opportunity and the best experience. And that's when we talk about intentionality and being strategic, and the countless meetings that we've had with all of these staff members on furniture and design, right? And building the school of our dreams to best serve our students is pretty amazing. So I want to thank all of our teachers. I want to thank you both. I want to thank all of our parents and our students who also help with that design process, because it really is now a culmination of that journey as we push closer toward the beginning of next year. So, and you can see the progress that's already being made out there every single time when you drive by. But everything that goes into it really started about 4 years ago as we were designing and we were talking about, how to build those pathways for the future of our district.
And I think to add one layer to that, as someone who's been around the district for a long time, if you look back, if you think about where we are tonight with this presentation, and we're on the precipice of amazing things. If you go back beyond 4 to 5 to 6 years to say 9 to 10 years, and just where we have come, and really being a steward of support and leadership. I mean, if you look back just 9 years or so, I mean, who would have thought that we would be here today? So thank you all.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
The real beauty is that, we're not building the school for tomorrow. We're building the school of the future. We're building classrooms and structures that'll be around for a long time and be able to support any kind of learning that happens moving forward. So very exciting stuff. Good night.
Good. We'll move on to the 2020 school report card.
All right.
Great. Present this. And I do have a template that I wanted to, this is something that's I will do for you every single year.
And increasingly will probably be a larger team of people that will talk about the successes of our school report card. Unfortunately, because of pandemic, there's not a lot to talk about this year. And the reason for that has to do with the waivers that the state of Illinois has applied for because of the pandemic. But I do want to take that opportunity to review just a little bit. And I really only wanted to highlight one really important piece of school metric data that really Jeff and I had already just talked about, and that's the success of our freshmen. It was really redeeming for all of our efforts. But ESSA is the reauthorization of the National Education Act, also known as NCLB, that was replaced in 2017. And one of the great things about ESSA that I'm sure we could all agree upon is that school success, school accountability, and the measure of how good of a school you have should not be measured just on one SAT or ACT or PSAT data point. And there's a variety of indicators that now go into our school report card. And the vast majority of them, when you go to our school report cards, and all of these are hyperlinked in the presentation, most of them say there's a little yellow triangle with an exclamation point that said possible COVID impact. Yes, almost the entire school report card has a possible COVID impact. Our kids haven't been to school since March 13th. So there has been a waiver, but a couple of really, really important things to point out in red here, and these are goals that are highlighted with our state, is that 90% of ninth grade students shall remain on track for graduation. That's a key focus. And again, to underscore how great it is that we're going to have a freshman campus. One of the first things that I really loved about our plans that led to that referendum is to know that my youngest daughter would go to a place that is totally focused on freshman success. And as much as we like to say it, when you have a high school that's 9 to 12, that's just not the case. And so the fact that we have two goals given to us from the state of Illinois, 90% freshmen on track and 90% graduation rate. We have one campus now that will be able to focus solely on one, and then bridge those students to an outstanding experience at the upper campus, and that other campus will focus completely on the other. And we know the two are absolutely wound together. So we are really excited. We believe we're going to have an outstanding school system to really accomplish that. This slide really shows you all those multiple measures: English, math, graduation rate, English learner, science proficiency, absenteeism, attendance, college and career readiness. We believe that we have a system that's really set up for great success. Jeff talked about the Distinguished Warrior. You know, we've had the Distinguished Warrior program for for years and years, and that is all about college and career readiness and success. So we feel well positioned. Just like last year, I had mentioned that ESSA sets up 4 rating categories, and part of that waiver system that the state set up last year is every single category for every single school in the state last year was now moved forward. So both of our schools are commendable again this year, as they were a year ago. So again, I don't need to state this again, but the success of our 9th grade action teams led us to not only building that building-wide culture about how important freshman success is. This breaks it down for you. You can take a look here. East Campus 2 years ago was at 85.9, and West Campus was at 89.8. And when we looked at the struggles that our freshmen had that year and the numbers that we had, we knew that we had to focus completely on that. And because of the efforts of that team, East Campus a year ago, 94.4 at the end of last year in a pandemic. And West Campus was at 95.2. So our district rose almost 7 percentage points of 9th grade on track. And that is throwing in a 3-month pandemic at the end. So we're really excited to get back to having what might be called a normal school year sometime in the future. We feel really good about it. So Ryan, a little bit about evidence-based school funding.
Our evidence-based school funding formula, we are designated a tier 1 school, and there's 4 tiers, right? And we are the lowest tier when it comes to, school funding and reaching that adequacy target of 100%. Our school is still at 67% in terms of the funding level that we need to be at that 100% level. And so I think it is really critical to know that, we're doing all of these amazing things, but we're still designated as one of the lowest funded schools in the state of Illinois. As you know, 85% of our revenue comes from local sources, and some of that comes also, the other percentage comes from our state funds and federal funds. And when we look at the state of Illinois right now, especially after COVID, we are concerned as to whether or not that funding will continue to the level that we need so we can become one of those most adequately funded schools at 100%. Given those limited resources by the state, possible reduction in state funding, it is something to consider. And we are doing all of these amazing things as one of the lowest designated schools in terms of school funding adequacy in the state. And again, I don't know where the state's going to be next year to help fill that gap. They have put measures into place to help fill that gap in terms of finance and revenue and providing those resources. I don't know what they'll be next year for some of that. So I just wanted to reiterate that. I think it's important to keep in mind.
Lastly, I always end with, what are those main things, the major things that keep us up at night, that drive us for the future, that calls upon our best talents and skills, is number 1, 9th grade on track efforts. We really feel like what's going to happen at the freshman campus is really going to set the stage for everything else. We need to continue to improve student attendance. There's no doubt that if accountability returns this year, every school district in the state is going to say, oh my goodness, when they see their data, because of disengagement and just the issues that pandemic are leading. But student attendance, that's got to be a focus moving forward. Continuing to focus on graduation with summer school and interventions and remediation. SAT skills, strategies, and curriculum and alignment will continue to drive our best efforts. Post-secondary enrollment, getting kids to really have that effective 4-year plan from freshman year to senior year, picking their courses and pathways and driving towards college and career readiness, and then translating all these efforts in a very focused, targeted way across the student campus structure. So with that, any questions about this year's very light school report card presentation, possibly impacted by COVID? All right, thanks. Thanks, everyone.
Move on to the levy estimate.
Now, the Finance Committee met right before this meeting and talked about the levy, but I'm going to go through some of it as well. And I'm going to really concentrate more on the spreadsheet that's at the very last page of your packet. One thing I want to point out from last year, in red, you'll see in the middle of the kind of in the middle of the page, we originally estimated 2.29% and for the levy or for the estimate. And so we levied 2.34, and it actually came in at 2.33, which is 0.01% difference. And so that was very, very close, a little too close for my liking, but we were under, and we were able to capture everything that we were supposed to last year. So if you look at this year, which is the 2020 box, and you look at the third column over, you'll see that our estimate for 2020 is 3.06. It's in yellow. It's the first yellow box in the of that line. And what I did this year, generally we have two scenarios, but I put in three different scenarios. One for 2.9%, which is a little bit under the estimate, and then one was 3.11. The third one was 3.16, and those are generally what I will put as estimates for the levy. Last year we went 0.05% over the estimate, which would be the 3.11. I put the 3.16 there to give us a little more room in case the estimates are not what they should be, or what the county gives us. But generally they are fairly close. And if you look at that 2.9%, if you look down at the bottom, there's like an orange box down there. If we did levy for that, we would lose $39,475, and we would lose that not only next year, but every year after that, because those numbers would then become our base going forward. Okay, so we would lose that every year, or anything under what the estimate is, we would lose some certain amount of money, and again, that would be for every year after that. What I also want to point out is in the first two columns, 2018, 2019, if you look toward the bottom, there's a green number. In 2018, our bond payment was $4.7 million. And because we were, again, passed the referendum and were able to keep some of the money that was going to be given back to taxpayers, we were still able to give the taxpayers about $1.5 million, the difference between the 4.7 and the 3.2. And that showed up on people's tax bills this time, and everybody here should have noticed that. So I just want to remind everybody of that we were able to give $1.5 million back to the taxpayers, and yet still put money into that new addition and all the improvements in the building. So we did what we said we were going to do as far as the referendum is concerned. The two items that scare me a little bit, and Ryan talked a little bit about this, is the state of Illinois. What's going to happen with the state of Illinois? And as everybody knows, that graduated tax did not pass, and Governor Pritzker has already talked about, that's going to mean a tax increase and so on and so forth. And they've spent a lot of money on COVID, and at some point in time there's going to be a reckoning, right? They're going to have to come up with that money, and they were in tough financial shape even before that. So that's one thing to consider. And also CPI. You'll notice CPI this year was 2.3, and it hasn't been that high for quite some time. You see the last 2 years was 1.9 and 2.1, and the projections for CPI for this year are anywhere from 0.1 to maybe 0.4. And so that again, what does that mean? That means that we're going to probably stay pretty flat, at least for next year, and maybe for the year after that. So when the board is deciding where they want to go, please keep that in consideration, because we probably aren't going to have much growth at all, at least next year, and probably for the year, possibly for the year after that as well. So Our board meeting is December 21st, and that's when we have to approve the levy. The board has to approve the levy. And 20 days prior to that, they need to estimate what the levy is going to be so that we can prepare that, so that we can get it all ready for the meeting. So that would be December 1st. So I'm going to need information from the board by that time. They can discuss it tonight, that's great. But if not, and come to a conclusion tonight, that'd be great. But if not, I'm going to need the information at the very latest by December 1st so we can get everything ready for that meeting in December. Does anybody have any questions? Comments, concerns?
I want to reiterate too that, we did go out for that mid-level referendum, and part of that was to ensure that we would, our taxpayers could recoup some of that money from the previous bond. And we did that in the tune of $1.5 million. So we did keep that promise, and that should be reflected on tax bills. The other promise that we made is that we would be investing our own fund balance to help improve these facilities. And we've spent almost $10 million, right, outside of those $44 million referendum dollars to continue to improve our facilities to prepare for that transition next year. I already talked a little bit about the fact that we are that tier 1 district, and we are concerned about what happens with state funding. But we have invested not only our fund balance in terms of improving our schools and our facilities to make sure that they are ready to go, but then of course also keeping our promises to the taxpayers moving forward. I just also want to stress that in January, every year, we discuss abatement. And so when we look at either the interest on our bonds, we look at our current fund balance, there's always that opportunity in January to abate money back to our taxpayers. And that will also be part of our conversation in January as we move down the line. But I just wanted to keep those points in check in terms of our tier level, our funding level. 85% of our revenue does come from local sources. We are concerned about general funding from the state. We've invested that $10 million over these 2 years out of our fund balance over the $44 million also that we would promise the taxpayers do. And that's why we're able to go for that mid-level referendum, because we were going to invest some of our own revenue in our fund balances. And so all of that plays a role into the fact that we are concerned about revenue coming in the future based on CPI and being able to continue to operate our schools at a really high level.
Hey, Ryan, is the abatement process similar to the budget process? Maybe one of you, meaning it's a very structured, has to be done 20 days and posted, et cetera, or is that just something we have as a board, the ability to just?
No, the time, there's certainly, that's why I want to do it in January or February, because we've got to have that done by the end of February so that they can then put that, so that it's reflected on the tax bill. So there definitely is a time frame for that.
Okay.
Yep, absolutely.
Any other questions? Okay, I think we discussed it already. We're gonna get back to it. We'll get back to you shortly. Okay. No later than the 30th. Before then. Okay.
Great.
Good. We'll move on to the committee reports. Executive planning.
Nothing.
Nothing at this time. Finance, we met today, went over the levy, and we have a little work to do to get back to them to get that done before the 20 days. So that's where we'll go. Facilities?
We have a meeting scheduled for November 23rd at 4 o'clock.
Okay.
We hope to have some of those estimates, those final bid estimates, and then also roll out any possible improvements to McCracken Field too. We've been on that kind of timeline for McCracken. We've got some new recommendations and drawings we're going to be able to share too. So I just got word of that. So that's great. That's really good news.
Is that next Monday, Ron?
Yeah, the 23rd.
Okay. Great. Then on my calendar. Superintendent report.
Yeah, first off, obviously, thank you everyone for being here. Continue to be extremely proud of the resilience of our school district. No matter what model we employ, delivering that high level of support and academic instruction to our students. And right now, as you know, I've been sending out updates every week to our parents and to the board, indicating where the metrics are as far as our ability or looking for that window where we could feasibly come back to a hybrid model. At this point, as you know, last week I sent out a message to our community that based on the numbers and where we're at, coming back before Thanksgiving break is no longer an option. At this point, we're going to start looking to see if there is another window where we might be able to come back before first semester ends on January 20th. However, as I stated last week in my letter, there's some diminished returns with that. As we move closer to the end of the semester, we also have to account for the fact that it may not be the best move academically or for the continuity of instruction. And so making sure that students feel secure towards the end of the semester, that they can be supported and continue down this pathway, makes a huge difference now as we calculate this decision as to whether or not we can come back before the second semester. And so we're going to do a long-term kind of outlook here. We're going to continue to work with the McHenry Public Health Department and with our teachers and with our students to see if there is a pathway. But again, now that we're moving closer to the end of the semester, that window, unfortunately, is beginning to close because we are very concerned about those diminishing returns, about instructional continuity, about the academic performance of our students, kind of moving forward. And so I hope to send a more concrete message out to our community here in the next week or two based on what we're seeing, as we promise to really take a hard look at the numbers and see if there was a pathway forward. And then we'll make that determination. But again, I appreciate all the work that's been done. We have started winter sports via the Fox Valley Conference for those 4 teams that are currently playing in the Fox Valley. We have continued to bring in certain specialty programs and special education courses and students that need assistance because they're disengaged into our buildings. We'll continue that for as long as we can, but we also monitor those metrics each week to make sure that we can continue that process. So for right now, again, we are extending this through Thanksgiving break. We'll take a look at where we're at, and we'll make that decision about whether or not we can come back for first semester. Again, I'm the internal optimist. I know that we're going to come back at some point. We have so much to look forward to in this district. We can't wait to have all of our students back. However, balancing the health and the safety of our staff and our students is really critical with that desire for in-person instruction. And if all else fails and we're not able to come back first semester, we will target the second semester return and put all our efforts in that and closing out the first semester and moving forward. So that is where we're at currently, and I hope to have a more concrete determination here in the next week or so about where we can be here, for the semester. Other than that, that's all I have. Of course, wish our entire community a very happy Thanksgiving. I think we have so much to be thankful for. We are so blessed to have all these wonderful opportunities. What a great board meeting to present our transition plan. You're seeing the beautiful new extension going up. All the work that's been done at the freshman campus too. East Campus is absolutely amazing. And really the best is yet to come. So, keep the faith. I hope everyone has a wonderful Thanksgiving in our community. And we're going to be back soon. I know we will. I feel that in my heart. All right, that's all I have.
Great. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn at 8:18 p.m. That was Nicole.
Second.
Dawn, roll call, please.
Mrs. Levin? Yes. Mr. Fisher? Yes. Mrs. Morrow? Yes. Mr. Arnold? Yes. Mr. Kinchhoffer?
Yes.
Ms. Robert? Yes. Mr. Hine?
Meeting's adjourned.
Great, thank you.